All right, I've restarted the recording. Co-chairman tell the meeting.
Okay, it is 8:24. Do we have a motion to go back into session?
No, you just call it.
Okay, we are going back into resuming our Charter Revision Commission meeting. We've already done the pledge for the Board of Selectmen meeting, but we can redo it if you would like. I have volunteered to do the pledge for the commission. Nicole, you're the first on your screen. I'll put my flag in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so for the charter attendance, we have co-chair Tanya, we have Jim Richards, we have Rick Laborious, we have Roseanne, we have Nicole, and we have Heather. So everybody is here for the charter. The first thing on our agenda is public participation. Is there any public participation? Any public participation?
So Rebecca, this is Jason. Did you need us to recap what we just did, or are we
No, I
all
think
set?
we beat the horse. I think we're good. So hearing no public participation, we will jump into new business. As we all just heard from the Board of Selectmen, that their recommendation is for us to adjust our proposed change in Chapter 8 for the budget to change it from sending it back to the Board of Finance after 3 failed referendums and changing it to a 3.5% fail-safe like it used to be with the 2%. So with that, let's start our discussion. Is there anybody who would like to speak first from the board?
So Rebecca, before you do that, I just want to share what the statute says the process is. So you guys submitted a draft report to the Board of Selectmen. We have made a recommendation back to you. You can now either amend your draft report or reject our recommendations. That's it. And again, I'm going to read the statute where it says that if the appointing authority makes recommendations for changes in the draft report to the commission, which we did, the commission shall confer with the appointing authority, which means there's now a dialogue in this meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Charter Revision Commission concerning any such recommendations, and the commission may amend any provisions of the proposed charter, charter amendments or home rule ordinance amendments in accordance with the recommendations made by the Board of Selectmen, or the commission may reject such recommendations. So you can either take up what we offered or reject them.
Do we have
Okay.
time to,
Sorry, Nicole.
sorry, Jim, do we have time to reconvene and come back with other recommendations to you?
No, you don't have the authority under the statute to do that. Your choice is accept our recommendation or reject it. And then at that point, our choice would be to take your final, your initial report, which is 3 referenda, and then to the Board of Finance, or disband and thank you for your service.
Well, I'll speak up first, and I think that personally we should keep what we have proposed.
I agree.
I agree.
Both, let's see, Rich, you're first on my screen.
I think suggestions made by the Board of Selectmen.
Try again.
How's that?
Okay, much better.
I think the suggestions made by the Board of Selectmen demonstrate that there's a serious flaw in the charter as a whole. Because the 3%, 3.5%, 2%, It's all kind of gimmickry instead of addressing what the real problem may be. And that would be a study of the structure that we use to govern ourselves. Just because we've had the same structure for a long period of time doesn't mean it's necessarily the right one. Our charge when we first were impaneled was to review the charter for minimal changes, review the section on finance, and other minor changes was our charge for the Board of Select. Any automatic increase, any percentage automatic increase, fail-safe increase, fails to recognize that inflations or other costs to the municipality might be, we didn't think we were going to have a pandemic, and here we are. We may not believe that inflation will ever be 18% again like it was in the late 70s, but it could be. In which case, we're stuck with a provision in a budget that limits to a specific dollar amount, which I think is a problem and could create real serious problems. Plus, there is major economic development that has substantial revenue attached to it. It also may have significant, but hopefully much lower costs associated with it, which by themselves could drive us beyond a 2% or a 3% or whatever percent we're looking at. And combine the two, combine a period of modest inflation with a period of economic development that carries with it increased costs, we would as a community be in serious trouble if we couldn't pass a budget. So either I don't have a problem as a stopgap measure to just changing the percentage, but it's certainly not my first choice as to how to approach our finances as a community. I made other proposals that have been rejected both by the commission and the Board of Selectmen. But I think a serious look down the road, perhaps, a more serious look at our structural difficulties lead us to be in this position every year where we're looking at the inability to pass a reasonable budget in the community, and whether our structure is appropriate to 21st century governing of our community is something we're going to need to look at down the road. So I'm amenable to an adjustment in the percentage. I don't think it's the ideal approach, but as a temporary measure to get us to what I hope in the future will be a more significant revision process, I could. That's it for me.
Great, Suzanne?
Jim? I don't have a hand to raise.
Go ahead, Jimbo.
I'm sorry I'm a little fuzzy today, but I wanted to bring up economics. Attracting business is one thing, but existing businesses are very upset at the lack of money being invested in roads, streetlights, say in the Broadbrook Center, et cetera, et cetera. As one of the most famous guys in town, Sammy from Lenote, said to me, I don't mind spending money as long as it's spent somewhere good. And the concerns tonight that I heard for the percentage has to do with pensions and paychecks, and I'm not against them, but that's not what we increase the budget for. We have a splash pad going in. How many years did it take to get it? Was our quality of life affected by it? Was your house values affected by the lack of? I mean, these are things that we can look at and look at and look at. I'm in favor of giving the voters back their rights. I think any percent takes away those rights. I was agreeable to the Board of Finance finalizing it because I can vote them out of office. But if it's a choice of a percentage or we stay with our initial, I would stay with our initial because otherwise we're doing what other government has done, which is just kicking this can down the road. The fail-safe, while it sounds good, Rick brought it up, pandemic, fail-safe has no value there. So I'm sorry, I don't agree with a fictional number. I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it one more time. If you start with something tainted, then in the end, the product will be bad. In this case, we're starting all our budget stuff with a preset number by something other than anything. Sarah Muska was probably the closest during that selectmen's meeting saying, what are we basing it on? If we're not, and we can pick all those numbers, but it's really not basing it on something. In the long term, it will do what the 2% has done, which will stymie things from being done. And we're talking about percentages here tonight and this and that. What is the cost to upgrade the dog kennel, for instance? What's the cost to write a contract with the Warehouse Point Fire District to provide fire services? If we limit it with a percent, we're literally tying the town from negotiation and further progress. Noreen Farmer said it right. And anyone that knows me and Noreen knows we don't always agree on things, but we're in agreement on it. We need to just get it back to the voters. And if the Board of Finance this year did a great job when they were forced to, and I think at least for another year or two, the Board of Finance would respect that last position and take that responsibility seriously. And the comments about, well, people aren't going to be happy, I've never been happy knowing that 2% is the unrun, and I know a lot of other voters that aren't happy with that either. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, but the percent will definitely damn us that the 2% is done. That's what a 3% is done, and it just becomes political fodder, and we don't have our needs met. Thanks.
Thanks, Jimbo. Ruth Ann?
Well, I kind of agree with what Sarah Muska had said about using the 2% plus the inflation, which Jason explained would bring it very close to the 3.5%. But I'm definitely in support of the Board of Selectmen's recommendation of 3.5%.
Heather?
I'm kind of on the fence. I think Sarah had a really good point with the number and just picking arbitrarily. I think if we need to go with a different number, I think we should look at the different subgroups, and different departments need more or less than the others. And I think going with a different number arbitrarily, even if it's 3.5%, that isn't something that's going to help everybody. And I think we were just trying to get away from the 2% to begin with for that reason. I'm kind of on the fence right now.
And Tanya?
I'd like to see, to stick with what we presented. Given the fact that we did the research and did the numbers, and I agree, we're just picking a number for going with the 3.5%. We went through all the math with the town treasurer and did all that, and it really didn't matter how we sliced it. It's still, there was pros and cons to doing that. I think if we just stick with our original plan, since we did do a lot of research on it. So that's my thought.
So just getting everybody's kind of consensus on where they are, that we do have a majority in rejecting the Board of Selectmen's recommendation to change to a 3.5%. So if there's any more discussion on it, certainly welcome to have that discussion, or I would entertain a motion to reject the Board of Selectmen recommendations.
As a motion should be in a positive form, I'll move to accept the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen. And so I offer that motion.
Okay. Rick has made a motion to accept the changes or the recommendations by the Board of Selectmen. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Suzanne seconds. Any further discussion? Jimbo, did you have anything else to say or no?
Yeah, just with the motion, sorry, just with the motion, let's get clear that a nay vote means a nay vote.
You're cutting out really bad and I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. What does a nay vote mean, and what does a yay vote?
A yay vote means that we accept the recommendations from the Board of Selectmen. So if you do not want the recommendations of the changing it to 3.5%, you would vote no. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor? Rick, you're muted. You're still muted, Rick.
Rick, you're still muted.
There you go.
The only further discussion I have is it's my impression from listening to the Board of Selectmen that if we reject their recommendation, that they're not likely to proceed to referendum with the changes that we've recommended to them. So in order to get this to referendum, I think we should support, even though I don't think it's the best approach. I think we should support the Board of Selectmen's recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say I'm not kicking the can down the road. It's time for a bold move, and I will not vote for anything with percentage in it.
Okay. Jason, did you have any response to what Rick said about how if it gets denied that there's no other chance for you guys to accept it?
If it's not accepted by the Board of Selectmen, then whatever occurs, unfortunately, will be on their head. I feel strongly that the voters' rights have been infringed upon for 10 years. I'm tired of it, and I will not vote for it. I'm sorry.
No,
I think
I was asking
you know,
Jason if he had the recommendation on what Rick was asking. Jason?
So
say that again, I'm sorry.
Wait, we're in the middle of a vote, though.
No, we're not.
Discussion for
This
that
is
vote.
further discussion.
Jason?
Hi, Rebecca. So my board has not specifically caucused that question, although as you can see from our discussion during our meeting, that didn't seem to have a lot of support. I'm not going to put them on record without actually doing that, which we would, based on the outcome of your vote, we will take some appropriate action at our meeting on Thursday night. I got to say, though, I think that a lot of us certainly heard the people were concerned about the perception of taking their vote away. And I think that remains unchanged based on what you guys seem teed up to do.
That's just perception, because we're not, it's, and the way this discussion has gone is incorrect, because it's been an all or nothing on either side when we've been trying to be in the middle. We're allowing for 3 referendums for the voters to have a say and a fail-safe. So the voters do have a say. We're not taking away anybody's rights.
They don't have the final say.
But they don't have a fight, yeah.
But that's what happens when you have an elected board. You know, the Charter Commission is not going to have the final say against the Board of Selectmen anyway. So it's on how you want to come at a situation with perspective, but, you know.
And I forgot who said it in the Board of Selectmen meeting, but they said that basically the 2% takes away that the voters' right anyway, because it's a fail-safe no matter how you look at it. So to me, we're not taking the voters' right away at all, because they still have 3 referendums to vote at. They can still be part of all of the Board of Finance budgeting process meetings. So it's not like things are being hidden in the dark by any means. So I think that out of everything that we've talked about since day one in March or whenever we started this, that we are in the middle ground. We're not choosing one side over the other. I think we are pretty well set in the middle, to be honest. So is there any further discussion to the motion?
May I make one additional point? The process, the law says that statute says that there is a further, if the Board of Selectmen were to reject the commission's recommendations and not put it to referendum, there can be a petition to resurrect those recommendations and put them to referendum. Just so you're clear on what the statute is. I don't recommend that. The statute does allow.
Okay. Any further discussion? All of those accepting the proposed changes from the Board of Selectmen, say aye. Rick? Ruthann?
Yep.
Heather? You're muted.
Yeah.
You're an
Yes.
aye.
Huh?
Are you an aye? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay. Nicole?
No.
Ruthann?
Yes.
You're an aye.
Yes.
And Jimbo?
No.
Tanya?
No.
So we are tied and I am a no. So that is our vote. So with that, now what happens, Jason?
I was just looking that up. Give me 2 seconds.
Also, while you're looking that up, I know that there was one typo that was still in the charter, which was in 2 locations where it said there twice or something. So you need to remove one of those. Is that something that we can still do, or is that something that you guys can do as it's in your hands again?
So that's a Scribner's error, most likely. So I'll need to check with the attorney to see what the process is on that. Mike,
Okay.
If I'm shooting from the hip and totally guessing, actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not even going to guess.
Okay.
So here's the next part of the process in the statute, which again is 7-191 subsection C. So this talks about the Charter Revision Commission conferring with the appointing authority and either accepting our recommendations for amendments to the charter or rejecting them. You guys have rejected them. So In either case, the commission shall make its final report to the appointing authority not later than 30 days after receiving such recommendations. So per statute, we have 30 days for you guys to submit to us a final report. In order for this to get, potentially, to get onto the ballot for the November election, we need to have this done in the next like 6 days. So our action on, we need a final report from you in time and filed with the town clerk in time for us to act on this before the end of this month. Ideally, if you could get that submitted to the town clerk tomorrow, the selectmen can consider this on Thursday. And then we have plenty of time to set the ballot, which is going to be a little messed up this year anyway, because of everybody getting the absentee ballots and the mail needing to work and all that. They need to have all of the pertinent information to the print house like super soon. Like Amy, the new town clerk, was in my office today asking me when she was going to have it, kind of soon.
And then my other question to follow up on us submitting to you our final report is that because we have all of the track changes in there now, because you had no other comments on anything else you changed, can we accept those and like clean up the document to be sent off as a final?
Yes.
Okay.
You also should probably attach a cover memorandum to it explaining that we followed the steps outlined in CGS 7-191, A through C, and that this represents the final report of the Charter Revision Commission to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Jason, should they also, should they give us a copy of the red line version and then also the copy of the final version? Because obviously we'll need to vet this by the lawyer, and then they'll want to make sure that just the changes, they'll want to know what was changed so they can go back and check and see what differences there are.
That's a good suggestion. It's also something we're going to want to have available to the public so they can see what the specific changes are in the event that the selectman forwards this. Rather than just handing them a document with track changes accepted, being able to show a red line would be helpful.
So we need both.
Yeah, which you already have the track changes one, so then we can just submit you a final thing one. Right? Am I understanding that correctly?
I would send me both in the same email,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that
Yes.
we're sure we're looking at the right versions.
Gotcha. Okay, so I will get that together. Probably not tonight because it's 9 o'clock, but I will do that first thing in the morning tomorrow and send that off to the clerk.
We need to vote on the final report then.
It's just accepting the track changes that we have already accepted in our previous meetings before we.
All right, we don't need to vote.
We need to vote? I guess we should have a vote. I would entertain a motion to accept all of the track changes in the proposed charter as a final.
Point of order, I don't think you need to do that. I think we've already voted. We've already sent
Okay,
the document over and we've rejected any changes. So the document as presented is our final, now becomes our final.
okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. I just didn't know what was proper.
Well, I'm glad Rick said something.
So if there's no further discussion on anything, I would entertain a motion, but Jason has his hand up.
So just following up on the point that Rick made earlier, the process to petition, if it should come to that, is in CGS 7-191F, as in Frank. And it says, or if approved by a majority with numbers equal to, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm giving you the wrong statutory reference. That's the threshold of voting participation necessary for it to be adopted. I don't see that petition route in this statute, but there may be other statutes that govern if it should come to that.
If it's not there, it used to be. been around a long time, so maybe it changed.
I think you're right, Rich, that it was at least there. I don't know where it is, but I mean, it would certainly have to be verified. Somebody would have to find it.
I'm pretty sure it's still there.
I agree with you.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Nicole seconds. All in favor? Rick? Rick said yes. Suzanne?
Yes.
Nicole?
Oh, yeah.
Heather?
Yes.
Tanya?
Yes.
Jimbo?
Yeah.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one.